I'm curious about how everyday environments and our elements in the environment, components we have in the environment, for example, chemicals, things that surround us, how do they have impact on our health, especially on chronic health issues?
I'm curious about non-pharmacological interventions for college students with attention deficit disorder.
I'm Raihan Khan. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Health Sciences at James Madison University.
I'm Madalynn Nofplot. I'm a JMU alum. I'm currently pursuing my BSN at Shenandoah University, and I'm an author on this study.
So, Dr. Khan, can you tell me more about your work overall at JMU?
So, this is my sixth year at James Madison University. And my background initially was in medical science. I completed my bachelor in medical science in Bangladesh, my birthplace. However, after I became a medical doctor, I became interested on the community side of the health. And I started working in public health. And I started noticing more and more chronic health issues and how environment has tremendous influence on our health. At James Madison University, I also wanted to look at research studies involving students because they are part of our life as a faculty member. We work with them, and our student population, they have very interesting life. They come to the university as an young adult. They stay with us for 4 years. They complete their bachelor. Some of them will complete their masters at JMU as well. And by the time they graduate, they become more matured. But this is a transition of their life. They are young adult. They are not matured yet. A lot of them are still going through that transition period. So they are influenced by many factors. And one of their major goals or objectives in university is to get good education and get good score. So that's how I started looking into their academic performance. For example, previously during the coronavirus pandemic several years ago, we had a study to look into the students' psychological status during the coronavirus pandemic, and we published that article. As a transition with all those things, we completed coronavirus pandemic. Now we were back to in person. I started mentoring more and more students, and Madalynn was one of my honors students. And when Madalynn brought me the initial idea, she came up to me with this idea to do something about attention deficit disorder, and she noticed several important areas of attention deficit disorder.
Madalynn, can you tell me more about the paper and what was your goal and maybe then what you ended up finding out?
Well, as Dr. Khan said, it was my honors capstone project, so I was part of the honors college at JMU. In order to graduate with honors and distinction, you had to complete a capstone project, and I knew that I was going to do this project since my first year. And then my mother, she sent me a playlist one day while I was just kind of random timing, but she sent me this playlist and it was about music to help you study or music that will help you focus. I wonder if this playlist was actually curated based on like a scientific study or, a specific reasoning. If there's any evidence that backed why these songs were put on this playlist, or if someone just like randomly threw something together. So, my original idea, which does differ a little bit from the paper that was published, was if there's certain genres of music like country, pop, classical that can help a student with ADHD study better. Basically. So we took responses from both people with ADHD and people without ADHD. Students without ADHD who listen to rap music, funnily enough, have a higher performance rate. Like they do better in school. And then I believe students with ADHD who listen to country music do worse have like a worse performance. The results were really sporadic. It was very interesting.
For example, classical seems easier to be able to listen to because there's such a heavy emphasis on words in rap, right?
I will say it was definitely a surprise finding. I remember I was doing this statistical analysis and that came across and I was like, this can't be. I think I like redid it and it still was the same.
So when we looked into only students with ADHD, rap was not actually found to have any relationship. It was the country. But when we look at the students without ADHD, and that's when rap comes. So, for example, say if I say I don't have ADHD and I listen to rap, I might get better GPA than someone who listens to classical. And what you said, Jessica, that it doesn't sometimes make sense because you might think that rap has special characteristics. And in fact, there is a phenomenon that is called Mozart effect. Like some people used to believe that, especially in psychology, that listening to Mozart or that type of classical music might help us. But what we found is that there is no one size fits all.
So, Dr. Khan, tell me about your perspective on this paper and what you think or what the takeaways were for you.
So we analyzed our data in multiple ways. We looked into students with attention deficit disorder. We also looked into students without attention deficit disorder. And then we combined them and we looked into the difference between students with ADHD and students without ADHD. For students with attention deficit disorder, we found that listening to music in general helps them improve their academic performance. But that's not all. There is another important information that we found. Students who are undergraduate, and if they have attention deficit disorder, in fact, listening to music did not help them. They actually received comparatively lower GPA. So that was an interesting finding because our university, James Madison University, we mainly have majority of our students are undergraduate students. And also we found that depends on which college do they belong. For example, our university has multiple colleges. Madalynn and I, our departments are in the College of CHBS, College of Health and Behavioral Studies. We also have College of Mathematics and other College of Arts and other colleges, 6 or 7 colleges. What we found is that students who are enrolled into CHBS, that means our college, College of CHBS, College of Health and Behavioral Studies, if they had attention deficit disorder, if they listen to music, actually it might hurt their GPA. So that means they might receive lower GPA. That's very interesting.
Yes. And how will they know if it works for them?
Looking at their GPA at the end of the semester, or
Or what about prior to the test, that can they get a sense of, okay, I'm able to focus for more time listening to this music? How can you get a sense of whether it works or not?
so from a teacher's perspective, I would say a lot of the students will have weekly, or I would say every few weeks, they will have a smaller exams before their midterm or final exams. So I would say that if somebody wants to try something new, maybe they should not target midterm or semester final. Rather, they should target maybe one small quiz. For example, I personally give them 11 quizzes for 11 weeks. So it's a small topic. It's not a big study topic for every week, but they have to study. They have to study regularly every week. So they can target one weekly exam and they can see if one genre works with them. And if they say it didn't really work with them, they didn't get good score, or if they can evaluate that, or saying that it doesn't work, I could not concentrate, my math doesn't really work, I'm losing my concentration, then they're getting instant feedback from themselves that it's not working. So they should change it.
So they can probably get some instant feedback while they're studying and listening to the music. If they're not able really to focus, then it's a clear sign. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
not like it's going to be a magical pill.
It's not magical. No.
Then even if they're not focusing, they might get a great grade.
Exactly. It's not like Aladdin's, yeah, it's not Aladdin's lamp. So I can also relate to another personal experience. For example, if I'm driving in a very tricky or say very mountainous road, especially in dark or at night, I actually turn my radio off when I'm driving because I personally have to concentrate 100% on what is going on when I'm driving. And I realize that listening to music, even say radio, conversation, it actually reduces my concentration. So it happened to me that I could not concentrate well when I needed to concentrate on my driving. And I told my wife to turn the radio off. As I said, that experiment and see what works for you. Maybe keep a note and then try it again and see if it works again. So trial and error.
Madalynn, what about you from your perspective? Since you already had kind of a way and classical music that worked for you, did you try anything else to see if you listened to rap while you were studying, if it might have worked for you?
I actually have experimented a little bit. Not like nursing school is very strict, so I can't I can't like risk an exam grade personally, but something big for studying in nursing school is active recall. So just like studying and then having someone ask you a question and be able to off the top of your head immediately have all the answers for it, kind of. And so I've kind of experimented that way. I've studied, like I've stuck to my classical music and then practiced my active recall to see how much I could remember and how much I like might had digested. Um, and then I listened to other genres of music to see if there was a difference in how much I could remember. And like I have done pop and I did try rap to see if it worked for me. It it doesn't work for me personally.
So, Dr. Khan, tell me what else you're working on now, and maybe are there other research studies that you're doing that you can tell me about?
I have been working on a research project that I am working with a community in rural West Virginia on the dust issue. Some rural communities, in fact, many rural communities, especially in rural Appalachia, which are very close to where we are located. We are in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia, and Appalachia is actually the larger mountainous area. So a lot of these rural areas, they don't have paved roadways, gravel roads or maybe semi paved roads. Those roads can produce a lot of dust. So I am interested to look into the effect of dust on human health. And I have been working on this project, on this idea since my master's. This was also my master's topic at North Dakota State University.
Dr. Khan, thank you so much. And Madalynn, thank you both. And I wish you all of the best and enjoy the spring in Virginia.
Curious by Nature is a production of Newswise. More than 7,000 journalists get the Newswise wires. Visit newswise.com and find out how to spread your news today.